My parents have officially sold the house that they've lived in probably for the last 20 years. My childhood home where I grew up from age, I believe, 6 until 22. I spent quite a chunk of my own life there. Pretty much all my memories, all my formative years were spent in that house. And it's very weird to go there and see everything sort of in flux, all the boxes, all the crates, all the items that they're moving with them to their new house. Last night was the final pizza night that me and my siblings and my parents will be having for the foreseeable future together as a family. I mean, since they're moving quite a distance away from me. And that has evoked a lot of questions in my own mind about what my future looks like, where I'm gonna go, what I'm gonna do. It's no secret that I've been deeply unsatisfied in my life for the past 2 or 3 years. I've come to really despise my job, which I hate to say, because, I'm very grateful to have a job. It doesn't pay me very well, and it's difficult to survive by myself with my salary, but I get to work from home. I have somewhat freedom in my job, and I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. I don't think that working a job where I commute every day that pays me more would necessarily make me happier, though I definitely think that money would fix some of the problems that I'm currently having, notably like my moving situation, because I'm not 100% sure what's going on with that, what I'm gonna do. But yeah, so I'm deeply unsatisfied with where I'm at. I don't think I want to work a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life, and I may have said this before, but the idea is deeply unappealing to me. Just being stuck in such a rigid structure, while I like having that structure generally, I think that for the rest of my life, for my career, for my aspirations, I want to aim higher than that. I want to do more than that. So I'm thinking about doing something radical. I'm thinking about changing my life in a way that I want to, in a way that is unlike anything I've ever done before, and that is to move across the country and restart my life essentially. I don't like my job. I could still work it technically because we do have an employee who works on the West Coast. Different time zone, of course, but they have adjusted their schedule to fit with our work schedule. So it's definitely possible. While it's not ideal to maintain the same job, if I have a job that pays me at least, a set amount of income every month, every 2 weeks, whatever, then that I, can use to get myself through whatever move that I end up doing, that's a good thing. I think I should keep that for now until I find something better. Of course, if I find something better. I've started querying agents for my novel, which is huge. I think I've queried about 6 agents at this point. They usually say to start with a small list so you can keep track and hear back from them and see what about your querying process, what about your synopsis, what about your initial letters to them go work, what letters don't work, what the formula is to get a good pitch across, to get your novel, hopefully to get a full request for the manuscript. But things have changed in my life. I don't have people anchoring me here anymore. A romantic prospect recently fell through, which is, upsetting, but it's understandable. I feel like in my life right now, I'm being guided away from that sort of stuff. And I wanted to read a little section from my journal that I wrote last night, not in relation to that, but a little bit later I want to read something about just my life in general, how I've been looking and thinking about my life recently. But a romantic prospect fell through, and that was a driving force in which shouldn't have been, to be honest. It was sort of a driving force between what I was going to do in the future, where I was going to move essentially. And now that that's fallen through, now that I don't have my family here anchoring me in the place that I've lived, the state that I've lived for 25 years, I think that I'm at a point where I need to do something different, because life is so short, and this was my thinking. Life is so short, and I feel that I've been unhappy for a lot of it, and I want to change that rather than wallow in my misery. And in a weird way, I enjoy being sad. There's something about it. There was this quote from an episode of Doctor Who. I'm pretty sure it was the first Weeping Angels episode. Don't blink. And I'm pretty sure Sally Sparrow says being sad is happy for deep people. Something like that. And in a weird way, being sad brings me comfort. And I think it stems from me not knowing that there's any other way for me to be, or at least not realizing that there was any other way for me to think or feel until very recently, when I started trying to take better care of myself, taking my medication. And I realized, I can do these other things. I can feel these other emotions more strongly than just sadness, even though my sadness has made a triumphant return. So yeah, life is too short. I want to fix it. I want to do things that I care about. I want to write. I've been just going crazy mentally in terms of generating ideas for future projects that I want to work on. A lot of big things, a lot of big ideas that I want to tackle, that I feel very passionate about, that I'm very interested in writing. But but as it tends to go with me, it's also sort of daunting because this is not something that I can easily sit down and do very quickly. It's something that is going to take time and effort to work and rework, because obviously this novel that I've written right now, it's about almost 400 pages, just shy, and that's going to be about 5 years to write, edit, refine. So I can only imagine with these different projects that I'm thinking out now, the scope of which are larger in my opinion than this previous novel that I've just finished, will take longer. Maybe not though. You know, I feel like part of the reason why this novel took me so long is when it's my first, and your first, you know, I feel like you put a lot of effort into your first novel. Generally, you want to prove yourself. You want to prove that you're capable of doing this. And I am obsessive. I know what worked this time around, what didn't work with the process of writing it itself. So I think I can take those things that I've learned and apply them to the future novels and maybe be more productive, have a better output, what have you. But I'm not betting on it 100%. It's a toss-up. You know, everything is different. Every novel is different. The process for each novel is different. So I'm just trying to have an open mind with that, as I am with pretty much everything in my life. So it's very unlike me to think, you know, to fix what I deem to be broken with myself or my situation, I need to just flip it on its head. I need to do something that I would usually never do, that I would never dream of doing, which is take myself completely out of my comfort zone, remove myself from everything that I've known, all the people that I've known, and put myself in this entirely new state, entirely new situation, just to see how it goes. You know, I know there's so many anecdotes for people who do this exact thing and they have mixed results. You know, there's so many people who say, oh yes, I did this, I moved myself across whatever country and I had a great life, I was so much happier, I found myself. And there's also people who say, you know, I moved and I realized that I didn't have it so bad where I was before, so I moved back. Of course, nothing in life is permanent, as I've been understanding this year especially. There is very little in life that is fixed and permanent. I think that having the ability to move and possibly change your mind and want to move back, while it's easier saying that out loud than actually doing it, of course there's money involved and there's time involved and this whole sort of thing involved in it. There's nothing that I do that can't be undone essentially when it comes to that. Necessarily, I feel like if I move, I would spend at least a few months in the area, just getting a feel for it, understanding it, really like getting into the culture. And then if I decide I don't like it, if I decide that it's not for me, then I can always come back. I can always find my way back over this way. It's not something that is irreversible that I am thinking of doing. It's something that, you know, it's expensive to do, of course. To move across the country is, I imagine, quite expensive. But it is not something that is impossible to reverse or undo. If I decide ultimately that I don't want to be there, I don't want to stay there. Yeah, just so much. I don't want to say turmoil, because it's not turmoil. It's almost a reckoning. I feel like my life is directing me away from the sort of romantic space that I've been occupying for so long, especially this year when I'm newly single, and directing me towards finding my own joy and peace within myself, which is so hard for me to reckon with because, as you know, I struggle with loneliness. I struggle with being by myself, especially when it comes to romantic partners. But I feel like after having tried and attempted to force things that didn't feel natural, didn't work, that I'm ready to say, okay, I hear what the universe is telling me. I'm going to take a break on that and I'm going to focus on myself and I'm going to find out how to make myself the best, happiest version of myself that I can before I proceed in anything dating-wise, anything romantic-wise. I think that will be for the better. I think that I will be happier. I think that I have the potential to be happier, and I think that any future romantic entanglements I have, my prospective partner would be happier as well, knowing that I'm able to show up in the best form that I can in the relationship, knowing that I'm able to show up the best version of myself. So this is a shorter video. I didn't have too much to say. I just sort of wanted to get my thoughts out there. And I have not forgotten about reading this section from my journal, so I'm going to do that. Like I said, I've been journaling almost every night by candlelight, and it's so beautiful and it's so meditative. I turn off all my electronics, I make the room completely dark, and I just sit here with my journal and my pen in the darkness and my candle, and I light my candle. And I just journal. It's free writing. Anything that comes to mind, I just write it down. No matter what relevance it has to whatever sentence I was working on previously, I just write it down because I find that it's very helpful to really understand how I'm thinking, and it feels cathartic to get my thoughts down on paper, regardless of how random, scattered they may be. All right, I'm gonna read now. This was a 2-page, about 2.5 page journal entry that I did last night. Final pizza night tonight. Didn't feel like it. strangely peaceful. But the house is almost gone, and that's that. Won't be real till they move, I guess. So much uncertainty in my future. Where will I go? What path will I follow? In these times, I wish I could just be told, but I've got to find my own way. What's keeping me here? Who will care when I leave? Who awaits me in the afterward? All unknown. I feel like I'm at a crossroads in my life. Either remain stuck in place or take a leap of faith. I want to choose the latter. Find myself in the desert. Be totally new. Make new friends, have new experiences. I'm very scared, but hopeful. I believe in myself. My familiar relations are so difficult because while there's a lot of love there, there's also so much trauma, unresolved, right beneath the surface. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.